Could the fallout from hundreds of thousands of dodgy home loans given to poor people in the US cause a global credit crash? Now, that question is being openly discussed after the near collapse of two big hedge funds run by the Bear Stears investment bank. To analyse this, I'm joined by our economics correspondent, Stephen Long.
Virginia.
Stephen, what's the problem with these funds and why is it causing so much worry?
The problem with these funds, Virginia, is that they're exposed to about $4 billion in toxic debt, not because they made the home loans that have gone bust, but because they bought the risk of them going bust in the secondary market through something known as a collateralized debt obligation. And the worry
nice
isn't...
phrase.
Yeah, you should hear some of the doozy words that come up in this market. But the worry there isn't that these two particular funds, as big as they are, will go under. The worry is that this has exposed the ripple effects of this beyond the poor people who took the loans, beyond the companies who made the loans, into this secondary market where, according to research published in the Wall Street Journal this week, there is $1.8 trillion in debt and people buying and selling the risk of default as the banks try and minimise their exposure. The worry is that this is the tip of the iceberg in that market.
So how does that process work then in terms of working its way through the market and having some deleterious effect?
It's part of a revolution in finance, Virginia, that's really transformed the way things work. It goes back a few years, and now banks and other lenders don't have to rely on savings to make loans. They lend the money, they originate the loans, and then they sell the debt into another market, and then they sell the risk of default, and you have these things, credit default swaps and collateralized debt obligations. And that's a way that's meant to minimise the risk for the banks. And Alan Greenspan hailed this as a great thing. But now we're seeing the other side, that it can lead to more risky lending and it can actually cause major exposures and not necessarily minimise the risk for the banks either.
OK, can you show us how this all works then, Stephen?
Well, the problem that's arising here with the subprime mortgage collapse is that you're seeing a toxic cycle of debt, if you like, and it can be illustrated in this graph where banks originate loans or bundle up loans that others have made, sell them on or sell the credit risk on to hedge funds, and then the hedge funds say, hey, we've got this product, it's got an investment grade rating, so we'll borrow against it from the banks. And so now you have hedge funds that have loans that are going under or exposed to the credit risk on loans that are going under. They borrowed against that from the banks. They're now trying to buy the original loans to stop them going into default, stop foreclosing on people who are in trouble, to minimise their exposure. And hedge funds who've taken another bet are moving the other way and trying to stop them doing that.
So it's like a whirlpool of debt. So could a credit crash be looming?
I believe that it's quite possible, and there are certainly people of strong authority who are discussing that possibility. This may not be the immediate cause, but if you have a turn in the credit cycle and interest rates go up, force more people into bankruptcy, then a credit crash could be looming through that toxic cycle of debt and that double exposure. It's a real worry. It's the big fear. It may not happen this time, but the risk is out there, and some say the day of reckoning is nigh.
Oh, it sounds pretty brutal. Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome.